Hi everyone, a really warm welcome to my channel, Nelly the Narcissist. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm making this video because many of you have asked for it, and it's not really a topic that you hear spoken very much from content creators, apart from maybe those that are in the religious sector. And it's rare to get a down-to-earth and spiritual reflection on this subject of the demonic and narcissism. I have been quite reluctant to make this video, and I'm not going to lie, it's a very difficult and it's a very sensitive subject because people don't like the term demonic for all of its religious connotations. And yet I do need to be honest, and I need to speak the truth about my own experience. And I'd like actually to share with you my own personal trajectory of this awakening to narcissistic abuse and how it led to becoming my awareness of the darker spiritual aspects that are majorly involved that not many people speak about with narcissistic abuse. So I'm going to tell you everything that happened to me, but I know unless this has actually happened to you, you probably won't believe it. But there are many survivors that are subscribed and watch my channel, and many people that come to the channel that have had the same kind of experience that I'm going to be sharing in this video. And the stories of all of this, they do sound like they don't belong to this reality, and yet they did happen. And these stories are actual people's real life experiences, and they are a lot more common than a lot of people may think. So I dealt with malignant covert narcissists. Not all narcissists have psychopathy, and not all narcissists have the dark personality types, the triad or tetrad. But my encounter was with a narcissist that was extremely far gone into the darkness. In fact, I think I struggled to find anybody worse. And it's now my belief, and you can agree or disagree as you wish, I can't speak for all narcissists, but I do believe that when psychopathy enters the equation in combination with narcissism, then the demonic is present. And what I mean by demonic presence, I don't know if it looks in the classic way that we expect with horns and a tail, but it is a dark energetic influence over a person that creates the desire to harm and even kill others. And like I mentioned in previous videos, this isn't just a drive to do it on a physical level, but it's a drive to actually destroy life on a spiritual level, the human will and the human spirit. So this is the presence of evil. And from what I know and believe, the demonic is surrounding the presence of evil. There is no evil without demonic, and there is no demonic without evil. So I had seen what I thought to be every single face of the narcissist, and I'd seen some really unpleasant things. And I'm sure that you know that the word unpleasant doesn't go anywhere near accurate to the things I experienced. Now, there were some truly horrifying moments, and that was the world that I lived within. That was the world that everybody lives in with a narcissist. It's a hellscape, and they get you used to that. And the longer that the relationship goes on, the worse it gets. So I thought that I'd seen at this point everything of the narcissist. I didn't know that there was another level yet to see. And I really don't think that narcissists, like I said, want you to see it, because once it's out, it's game over really for them. But from what I found out, sometimes they become so frustrated, so angry, so out of control that this other part of them emerges. And certainly, if you go up against a malignant narcissist, this is your opponent. Oh yeah, it's not a relationship, it's an opponent. But it's an unfair opponent because you don't know they're against you. And if you're with a malignant narcissist, you're fighting for your life. It's not physical fighting. It can't even be seen, but you'll feel it and you'll know it on a very deep level what's happening to you. It's very real despite being completely invisible. And I'm very happy that I got to be made aware of the full picture. And I have the narcissist to thank for that. And this is why I'm able to speak about these topics today and share them with others with conviction, because I have no doubt about the spiritual aspects that are going on here. And I've had someone call me in my work self-righteous. And this isn't self-righteous. This is standing up against evil and spreading awareness about it and helping others to not allow one of these dark ones to take life from you. Now, I'll give you some context because I never ever believed in any of this, by the way. I believed in a human soul, a spirit, because I'm connected to mine. And I never ever thought that I'm just a body. I believe that there is life after physical death, and I believe in the oneness of creation that is based upon the energy of pure and unconditional love. I can feel that divine connection through myself, through other people, through animals, through nature, through connecting with myself and my true inner being. So I've always been spiritual since childhood, despite not having a family that was. So I wasn't nurtured into my beliefs. It was just by nature. So I always believed in goodness and the power of love. And, if you want to go a step further, you can say that the power of love is from God or the divine spirit, or however you personally want to know it. And whenever I've considered people that do bad things, I've just thought, well, they've strayed away from themselves, from the path of love. They've deviated somehow, and we all have our choices. And, I could do the same. But what I never considered was evil, and the existence of the evil in the world as actual people. I preferred not to see them as evil. I thought that they were just bad people, but they still had a connection to love and goodness within them. So why didn't I want to consider the prospect of evil? Because it was too much for my mind. It would blow it. Not only that, but like I said, it's not pleasant to be spending time considering such things. It's scary, actually, because when you come to realize that pure evil is in existence, this isn't someone that's just a bit bad. This is pure evil. It's confusing to understand where that comes from without getting close to a disturbing spiritual aspect that really you don't want to go anywhere near. There's something inbuilt within us that's scared of going there, and I understand why. It's horrible. Because if I can feel the love within me, and I can feel that it's coming from my spiritual connection, a divine presence from the light, from God, they're not connected to that. They're far away from that. But they are connected to something else. And it's that something else, that unknown, that's the concern. And, I've never liked to consider religious terms and labeling people demonic, because I think more than half of the time, in most cases, it was done to persecute people that were innocent, And there is also the fact that to suggest someone is demonic or has a demonic influence, if not a possession in some way, would sound laughable and insane to most people. And I was one of those people that would have been absolutely laughing. But from gaining an intimate understanding of a malignant narcissist and what they have housed within their being, I now know that there is a very dark side in existence, and it has an energy and a force and even a team of its own. And every team has a team leader. There has to be a leader on every team. So think about that. There are both light and dark forces in this world. And from knowing the narcissist, I realized how this is a real life battle. And this really drove me to start doing the work that I do. Because most people, the average person, would never be exposed this far and can live life fairly ignorant to the existence of evil. But as it seems to be more and more prevalent in the world, it's important that our eyes are open to the potential dangers that are existing that actually seek to annihilate us. Now, I speak with people on the channel and in guidance coachings all of the time that say exactly the same thing as what I've said. They thought things like, words evil and demonic were just terms that were found in religious texts. People say, I didn't think that they really existed before I met the narcissist. And I just really like to stop for a second. And I want to say that people that have been mixed up with really evil narcissists, they don't call them evil or demonic because they've had a bad experience and they're jaded. This isn't the result of hatred towards the abuser. The using of the term demonic is actually reluctant in most of the cases that I've seen. And for my own case, I didn't want to believe in demons, nor do I desire to label somebody demonic. But honestly, because we have experienced something that felt and looked completely out of this world and wasn't of this world, we were exposed to a darkness that can only be described as like touching a demon. How do you know it's a demon? You just know. It's not something that you see all of the time. It comes and it goes, it surfaces and it's gone. The narcissist doesn't really want to expose it to anybody. It's very rare if you catch a glimpse of it, but sometimes it's inescapable. You're going to see it. And it was this encounter and this awareness that really spurred me on to want to fight this darkness and start this channel. And here I am. For myself, like many, we'd prefer just to call evil, evil, and then put it inside the psychology, the human mind, leave it there and say it's a brain wiring gone wrong. That's better There isn't a desire for many people to want to go any further than that. And it's absolutely justifiable. It's terrifying. It's mind-bending to explore other avenues and trace the roots of evil. And unless you come face to face with that yourself and you're forced to confront that demonic aspect of narcissism, nobody's going to sign up for any kind of expedition into spiritual territory, because this is not a pleasant subject. And if within this search you do stumble upon something that you never believed in, it's going to cause so much anguish within yourself. This is the realm of horror and your worst nightmares. So you can understand why it's not something that many people would like to delve into. It's easier and safer to say it doesn't exist, and evil is just some kind of a malfunction in the human brain. So returning to my experience with narcissistic abuse. Now, first of all, I recognize that I was exhausted since the narcissist first entered my life. My life was no longer my own, and I knew this. Then from some sloppy moves that the narcissist made that almost gave the game away a few times, I started to question the reality if I was actually being used. Though this one, I used to push away quite a lot because I really struggled to accept that somebody would be so underhand and so cruel. Then the narcissists overplayed their hand big time, and it became glaringly obvious that I was being used. And this was so sickening to awaken to the reality that the narcissist was a vile and disgusting wretch. But then I got a further awakening, because instead of leaving in that moment of knowing this was a really sick and despicable, terrible person, I stayed for a little longer. And although it was really dangerous, I'm pleased that I did, because this is when the narcissist really came undone and the spiritual layer was pierced through. I didn't pierce it. The narcissist let it slip. And why this happened was, in the end, I was so disgusted by what had been done to me covertly that I wanted to show the narcissist that their little scheme had failed and that they no longer had power over me. And this frustration and anger and all of the negative emotional avalanche that this caused the narcissist completely made them come undone. And in that moment, unknowingly to me, I was entering a spiritual battle. But realistically, I was in it from the moment that I met the narcissist. So in my experience, and I've spoken about this before in another video, and I'm going to put a link below in the description box if you'd like to check it out. This fake relationship that I had with a malignant narcissist, it wasn't until the end that I realized that I'd been cheated, lied to, manipulated, exploited by somebody that was using my heart against me. When I eventually found out all of the lies, I was disturbed, devastated, and disgusted. And what I didn't mention in my previous story is before, this event occurred, I returned home to my country and I spent a period of time, a few weeks away from the narcissist and getting out of their energetic frequency by going far, far away. I changed continents. I put thousands of miles between us of land and sea. And getting that opportunity to be out of their influence, I was able to see a lot more clearly what was going on, and I started to feel peace again around me. And when you start to connect again with that sense of stability and peace, you're very sensitive to somebody coming in and jeopardizing it. It's like throwing a big stone into still water. It's going to cause ripples. And so I was aware that the narcissist was a massive negative energy in my life that was sucking the life out of me. And I knew I needed to break free, but a part of me didn't want to. And that's the trauma bond. But when I went back to my country, there was a woman there that I knew in the area, and I've met her before, and she was a very genuine and talented reader. And what I mean by that is she has gifts of perception. She's incredibly intuitive. And when she saw me, her reaction was really weird. And at this point, I knew that I was being used and lied to and probably, manipulated and exploited. Yet there were things that I wasn't able to fully say out loud or admit to myself, But she came to me so sick, like someone had punched her in the stomach, and she just felt like I was around somebody that had really dark intentions for me. And she reflected that she was incredibly worried about me and that I was in danger for my life. And she said to me, if I could wrestle you to the ground and stop you from getting on that plane, then I would. And I did take notice of her warning, because deep down inside of me, my intuition was telling me the exact same thing, but I was trying hard to override it in my brain and, trying to make logical sense of it. It was illogical, but obviously I was suffering from huge cognitive dissonance, and I couldn't accept that the person that I loved and invested so much energy into loving and helping was a danger to me. And I didn't want to let go of the fantasy. And this is the thing. If you don't let go of the fantasy, you're going to lose yourself, and potentially you will lose your life. And so which do you want to lose? Which is more precious in the end? Is it you or is it the fantasy? And at the time, at the start, it was the fantasy that was more important to me. So in my mind, I did take heed of her warning, but I parked it somewhere far back. And I said to myself, well, I think it's an overreaction. I don't think that I'm in danger. I don't think that the narcissist is really that evil. So I was struggling a lot, as you can see, and I had no idea exactly what I was going to be walking back to. And I had no idea that this next period was going to require so much spiritual strength and energy from inside of me to get through. And, breaking free physically from the narcissist was going to almost destroy me. But I had no idea, because I was still considering this was just on a physical level. I wasn't really seeing this for the spiritual entanglement of what it was and how hard it was going to be to break free. And friends of mine, they still have no idea what I went up against and what I faced in that final moment. And they think that when I say, that I literally dance with the devil, they think that I'm saying that in a figurative way, when actually I mean it in a literal way. And when I returned to the energetic frequency of the narcissist and I went back to sharing an abode, that's when the narcissist started to lose control and tried first of all, the known physical worldly tactics possible. But then when that didn't work, the narcissist resorted to energetic tactics. And although this may sound strange to you, it wasn't strange to me, because I was aware all along that the narcissist did have a spiritual side. They just obviously painted it in a positive way, like mine. I had no idea that there was a spiritual side to them that just was really, really dark. And when the power over me started to decrease, the narcissist was then considering, what do I need to do? What do I need to pull out of the bag to get this person back under my control? So the narcissist 100% went to the place that they always go back to, which is the black arts, to try to meddle in the situation. And I felt the narcissist angry, and I felt the narcissist in a very rageful and, scary emotions in the past. But there was a new energy now inside that house. And when I used to return after spending time outside, as I used to spend a lot of time outside, I never wanted to go back to that place. There was actually a tangible, foreboding energy of absolute dread. It was tangible. And I hated that house. And I hated being inside that energetic frequency, because I could feel it trying to take hold of me. But my light still pervaded. I was very clear on keeping armored up. And whatever dark stuff they were doing, that didn't work either. And so they decided they were going to show me. They were angry. You have no idea, kind of thing, who you're dealing with. I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you. And that's when it came out. And if you recall in my video, I speak about how I came downstairs one day in the morning and nobody else was around, just me and the narcissist, as it was engineered to be. And I was invited to a mirror, and the narcissist had a room full of mirrors. And I know that sounds very odd, and it is very odd, but the narcissist had a room full of mirrors. And they had a black mirror too. And anyway, I was meant to go and look inside this mirror. And I didn't quite understand what was going on for quite some time. And obviously, that's when the narcissist stared at me through the mirror. And it was the weirdest thing. I didn't understand it. And then I finally twigged that there was a confrontation happening. But the narcissist wasn't speaking anymore. And this was all odd. They were showing me something silently. It's very hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. I just knew in that moment, from the energy, from the look, everything, I wasn't looking at the narcissist anymore. That wasn't the narcissist. Something else emerged. I was in a different energy. It was horrible. And I knew that they were trying to access me deeply. And I knew that it was a soul confrontation, trying to get me to resubmit. And it didn't work. It was the entire demeanor of that person that was changed. And it was very disconcerting. It was a foreboding energy and presence in the room that I never want to experience again. This was a deep knowing that it wasn't them. And it was a terrifying experience that made me know for sure that I was in serious danger and I needed to run. And I was way over my head. And, you know, I have to call it for what it was. That was a demonic encounter. It wasn't human. And I was distressed, and it left me shell-shocked, because what I also saw is as soon as there was a hint of someone else, you know, coming into the room, that switch back to being their fake, vile selves like nothing had ever happened. From that moment, there was never any going back for me, because I couldn't forget that even though every part of me wanted to forget, I just couldn't. And of course, what I remembered, which gave this even more clarity for me, is I knew that I'd felt and seen this before. I'd seen this level before when I had that THC gummy edible. I'm going to put the link below to that video. At the time, I thought I was tripping, although there were several things, including the narcissist's weird behavior and the words that they said, that suggested that it wasn't a trip. It actually suggested a veil had been pierced. And what I experienced and felt in that trip, I was feeling the exact same thing, totally sober, now in front of them, in front of that mirror. So the very fact that this was now the exact same feeling the second time round. And then I remembered my older friend that fled the narcissist's house, believing the narcissist was demonic and siphoning energy. And it all came together. And I finally realized the spiritual battle that had been going on all along. And I've been denying it because I couldn't see clear enough or deep enough. And it took a very long time for this experience to actually sink all the way in. It wasn't a conclusion that I jumped to, but it was a truth that I had to accept because it was in front of me. I'd be foolish to deny it or shrug it off. And I was shell-shocked. And when I got to a place of safety, I used to spend hours just staring into space, staring at the wall, because it took a lot of mental energy to grapple with this, get my head around it. But to make it simple and clear, these relationships, particularly with malignant narcissists, are spiritual battles. And whatever team they're on, it's not your team. But the opponent pretends to be on your team to learn all about you and to get close to you, to ultimately take you down and out. And there is a sadistic pleasure that they get from doing this, from depleting and destroying your spiritual light and your life. Because by doing this, they're making a direct attack on your spiritual connection to love and to the divine spirit, to God. They seek to harm and destroy all that's good. They are absolute demons operating in the flesh. Please don't be fooled by their facade. They're not you. They're narcopaths. They have a very strong malevolent energies that are working through them. Just as I or you could work with benevolent spiritual energies that guide us and inspire us and protect us, they are guided and moved by forces that are not of love. And that's why we do not belong with them. They're dangerous to us because they're going to try everything in their devious power to steer you off course, to steer you away from the light. And they can't make us evil, but they can make you forget who you are and your purpose in life, particularly if you are here to be of service to others. Oh, they're going to delight in keeping you hostage and not letting you get on with your own life and what you're truly meant to be doing here. But the end, as I describe here, was the big finale. And I was holding so much spiritual light within me. I was so connected to love and truth. And I know that my energy of sovereignty and the light that was surrounding me made the narcissist lose control of themselves. And that's when the demon was revealed. I was unable to process it for quite some time. And I think one of the biggest issues became, how on earth am I ever going to speak about this to anybody? Because most people are not going to believe it. And then even if they do believe me, because they know that I'm not a liar, they aren't going to understand it because they haven't been in that situation. But I knew I couldn't just sit on it because I felt a responsibility to raise awareness on this entire subject of narcissistic abuse. Because I came very close to what I believe is the root of evil. And I knew the dark intention of these individuals to destroy, and KILL people, and not just any people, but people that are very virtuous, full of life, full of love, full of light. It's those people that they target to extinguish the light from. So in my opinion, this isn't an epidemic, as we call it. It's a spiritual battle between the forces of good and evil. And I know that the raising of this awareness is not going to go down too well with their team. But it's about time now. They've been working in the shadows for far too long without ever being exposed. And they stay in the shadows because that's their cover. They are totally unable to step into the light because the light exposes them for who and what they are. So they need a light shone on them. These narcissists, they only have power when people don't know what they are and what they're doing. If you think about it for a second, does that strike you as a very powerful person? Someone that needs to hide in the shadows? No, I'm going to tell you who needs to hide. Thieves. Thieves hide because they know what they're up to is underhand and wrong. And they don't want you seeing what they're robbing from you. And this is what the narcissist is doing. They're robbing your life for all that they can take. And if that means ending it too, that's just another score for the team. Now, in my own story, if you recall, I had an older friend and she touched the narcissist that I was involved with. And she ran so fast and was very concerned for my safety, particularly my energetic health, because she knew that I was getting drained. And see, when you're being drained on an energetic level, you're going to get sick. And you see, one reason that she found it difficult, I think, to witness my situation is because her brother, that she was really fond of and close to, had been the victim of a woman that she referred to as the Black Witch, and he'd died. From what I now know about narcissists and psychopathic narcissists, although my friend never used those terms because she probably didn't know that they existed and it wasn't important for her, she just knew that was a dark soul. This woman was the Black Witch and she was evil. She was aware that there was something going on behind the scenes with this person that her brother had married. And I believe 100% she was a narcissist because she was doing all the things that narcissists do. She appeared really wonderful to everybody behind closed doors. She was draining the life force of her husband. She was abusive on all levels, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically too. She was violent. She tormented him. She exploited him. And when my friend visited her one day, she begged, please leave him alone. And in response, she told her, no, I'm going to take everything that he has. And my friend knew that she just wasn't meaning material. She meant his life. Now, she didn't do this physically, but she did do this energetically. She destroyed him from the inside out. And so this was a subject matter that my friend already had experience with unknowingly to her. It was a narcissist, and it was too painful for her to watch me probably go through the same scenario. And she didn't understand, unfortunately, the complexity of the trap because she'd never been in it herself. So for her, it was very simple. It was a simple case of there's the door, you just walk out of it. And even though in theory, yes, there's a door you could walk out of, there are so many invisible chains that have tied you that it's really not as simple as just walking out of the door. You know, this is the terrible part of it. She didn't understand. But the irony was she was fully aware that this was a huge energetic part. You know, this is a huge part of narcissistic abuse. It's the energetic hold that there is upon you. And it's utterly gross. It's a gross feeling to feel so powerless, even though you are deeply unhappy. The symbiosis of narcissistic abuse is gross. It's sick. And I also want to say, in my friend's case with her brother and his wife, she referred to, you know, as the Black Witch. It wasn't just her that was bringing him down. It was also their daughter that was on the team of her mother. She was the same as her. So they were both at him. And you do often see this, by the way, in narcissistic families. It's rare that there's just one narcissist at play. There's often more than one. And they team up and they work together like a pack of hyenas. And they ensure that the target is brought down. And why do they need to team up? Because often they're not enough to do it by themselves. Sometimes they are, but usually they need the help of others. And something that a subscriber commented on this channel that I'm very grateful for, he said that demons like to work in groups. They do team up. And I think that's a very important point to actually keep in mind. This is often a group effort. So if you were a being of light, which is basically you're a being of love, and you're a lover of truth, you're virtuous, and you're extremely loyal, you're going to be a target for a narcissist to assault you. And the desire is to train you up and covertly siphon your energy. And as I say, your life force, your spiritual essence, So it's all flowing in the narcissist direction. And I believe this feeds the demonic part. They grow in strength and in power because they need the power of others. This is the purpose, you know. They don't have power by themselves. So they need to drain you discreetly and train you to serve the narcissist. You're giving power. You're serving what I consider to be the forces of darkness, even though you won't see it. I see that as the job of the narcissist. I believe that they're playing an active role here on this earth as a siphon for energy. But ultimately, their power in comparison to you, to the light, is nothing. It's nothing. Don't believe that they're powerful. They have no power without you as the power source feeding them. So this is my take on the demonic aspect of narcissism, and it's completely up to you. I don't ask you to believe in anything that you don't believe in, but if you have had this kind of experience, then please do leave a comment below. Now, coming up, I've got another couple of videos that you might like. For now, thank you so much for watching. Take care, sending love, and I'll see you all again next time.